The sun dips below the horizon in Gaul, painting the sky in bruises of purple and grey. You can hear them before you see them. The rhythmic thud of hobnailed boots on hard earth, fading into the evening mist. Then, the sound changes. It becomes the clatter of wood, the dull strike of iron on dry ground, and finally the crackling of 1,000 fires. This is not a disorderly mob. This is a machine settling in for the night. And this machine requires fuel, not the roasted boars of Hollywood feasts, nor the complex rations of a modern army. The fuel that conquered the known world was humble, brown, and hard. It was a diet that would make a modern man weep with boredom, yet it forged men of iron. We are told today that to be strong, we need complicated nutrition plans, powders, and constant variety. We have become fragile in our obsession with comfort. But the Roman legionary walked across continents, built roads and slaughtered empires on a bowl of porridge and a cup of sour wine. They understood something we have forgotten. Food is not entertainment. Food is the coal for the furnace. Tonight, we strip away the myths of gluttony and look at the raw reality of the soldier's mess. We will taste the ash in the bread, the salt in the pork, and the sharp bite of the vinegar that kept them alive when the water was poison. This is the diet of the wolf. You wake up before the sun. The air inside the leather tent is thick, smelling of unwashed wool, oil, and the sleep of 7 other men. This is your family, your contubernum. You do not reach for a coffee or a sweetened bar. Your stomach is empty, and it will stay that way for hours. You step out into the chill of the morning, the grass wet with dew against your calves. The camp is already moving. There is no breakfast service here. You grab a handful of hard, dry biscuit left over from the night before, bucellatum. It is as hard as a stone and requires you to soak it in a little water just to bite through it. It tastes of nothing but toasted grain and survival. You pack your kit. The sarcina. It weighs nearly as much as a small man. Inside the furka, the pole you carry on your shoulder, is a leather satchel. It does not contain dried fruit or chocolate. It contains unground wheat. This is the genius of the Legion. You are not waiting for a supply truck to bring you bread. You carry your own bakery on your back. The grain is heavy, shifting with every step you take, a constant reminder of your burden. But it is also your life. As long as you have this sack of hard kernels, you are self-sufficient. You are a mobile fortress of endurance, untethered from the world, ready to march into the unknown. The march begins, mile after mile of rhythmic pounding. The dust kicks up, coating your throat, sticking to the sweat on your neck. The armor, the lorica segmentata, presses down on your shoulders, trapping the heat against your tunic. You burn energy at a rate a modern gym-goer cannot comprehend. You are not doing an hour of cardio. You are moving a house across a country. The hunger begins to gnaw at your belly, a dull ache that you have learned to ignore. This is not starvation. This is the standard operating state of the legionary. You are lean, hard, and hollowed out by effort, waiting for the moment you can stop and refill the tank. Thirst is the real enemy. The sun beats down on your helmet, cooking your head inside the metal. You pass streams, but you do not drink. You know better. The new recruits, the green ones, they drink from the stagnant pools, and by tomorrow they will be shitting blood, unable to stand. You reach for the flask at your hip. It is not filled with pure water. It is filled with a mixture that smells sharp and pungent. Posca. It is water mixed with bad wine, vinegar essentially. It smells like a pickle jar. But to you in this heat, it is the nectar of the gods. You take a swig of the posca. The sourness shocks your mouth, instantly cutting through the thick, cottony feeling of dehydration. It makes your jaw ache for a second, but then the saliva rushes in. The vinegar kills the taste of the swamp water you collected earlier, and deep down, you know it cleans the water too. It keeps the sickness at bay. It sits heavy and acidic in your stomach, killing the hunger pangs. This sour drink is the secret weapon of the Empire. While barbarians drink river water and die of dysentery, you march on, preserved by the power of soured wine. The column halts. It is midday, but there is no sprawling lunch break. You might gnaw on a piece of dried bacon, laridum, straight from the fat. It is salty, chewy, and coats your mouth in grease. It is not pleasant, but it is dense energy. You can feel the fat melting on your tongue, sliding down to give you another 10 miles of legs. You share a look with your tent mate, Titus. He offers you a piece of hard cheese, sweating oil in the heat. You exchange food silently. There is no need for words. The exchange of calories is an exchange of trust. You keep him fueled. He holds the shield next to you. Evening approaches. You have marched 20 miles. Your feet are swollen. Your traps are screaming from the weight of the pole. You arrive at the designated site. A modern man would collapse. A modern soldier would wait for the mess tent to be set up. You do not. You drop your pack and pick up a shovel. You cannot eat yet. The camp must be built. The ditch must be dug. The walls must rise. This is the discipline that separates you from the rabble. The hunger is sharp now, a physical pain. But the safety of the Legion comes first. You dig in a trance, dreaming of the fire. Finally, the centurion nods. The wall is finished. The pickaxes are stacked. Now, the ritual begins. You walk back to your leather tent where your 8 men are gathering. The fire is already being built by the immune, the soldiers excused from digging duties. The smell of wood smoke cuts through the smell of sweat and earth. It is the most comforting smell in the world. It signals the end of labor and the beginning of life. You sit on your shield, unbuckling your armor, feeling your chest expand as the weight is lifted. It is time to process the grain. You pull the heavy basalt stones from the mule's pack. The hand mill. 2 stones, one sitting on top of the other. You pour the hard wheat kernels into the hole in the top stone. Your tent mate grabs the handle, and the grinding begins. Scritch, scratch, scritch. The sound is monotonous, hypnotic. It is the heartbeat of the camp. Thousands of these mills turning at once, grinding the Empire's fuel. You take turns. Your arms are tired from the shovel, but you must grind to eat. There is no prepackaged flour here. You work for every mouthful. The flour spills out from the sides of the stones. It is not the white, powdery dust you see in a modern supermarket. It is coarse, full of bran, beige, and speckled. It feels gritty between your fingers. This is whole grain in its most primitive form. It is full of life, full of the earth it grew in. You sweep it into a bronze bowl. This flour has not been bleached or stripped of its nutrients. It is heavy. It promises fullness. You mix it with water from the skin, using your fingers to work it into a paste. The dough sticks to your calluses, cool and wet. The fire is roaring now. You place the bronze pot, the patera, onto the iron grill over the flames. You are making pulse, the Roman porridge. It is the backbone of the Republic. You toss the coarse flour into the boiling water. It does not dissolve instantly like instant oats. It clumps and swells. You have to stir it constantly with a wooden spoon, watching the bubbles rise and burst. The steam hits your face, smelling of toasted nuts and wholesome grain. It is a simple smell, ancient and reassuring. It smells like home no matter how far you are from Italy. But grain alone is punishment. Now comes the flavor. You reach into the communal supply. A pouch of salt, the white gold of the army. You sprinkle it in liberally. You need the salt. Your tunic is stained white with the sweat you lost today. Then, the herbs. Maybe some wild garlic you found near the ditch, or dried ruined coriander carried from the last town. You crumble the dry leaves into the bubbling pot. The aroma shifts, becoming savory, complex and mouth-watering. The grey gruel transforms into a meal. Now for the prize, the laridum. The slab of cured pork fatback hangs from a hook on the mule's saddle. It is white, streaked with pink meat and hard as wood. You take your pugio, your dagger, and slice off chunks of the fat. You drop them into the hot porridge. They do not sizzle. They slowly melt. The white fat turns translucent, releasing a golden oil that pools on top of the grain. This grease is pure energy. It is the fuel that will keep you warm tonight on the watch. The smell of hot pork fat mixes with the wood smoke, making your stomach roar. Sometimes, if the fire is right and you have time, you do not make porridge. You make panis militaris, soldier's bread. You form the dough into flat, round discs. You sweep the embers aside and lay the dough directly on the hot stones of the hearth, or sometimes even on the clean ash itself. You watch it rise, blistering and charring in the heat. The smell of baking bread is universal. It softens the hard edges of the men around you. Faces lit by firelight soften as they watch the dough turn into crust. The bread is ready. You pull it from the fire, dusting off the loose ash. It is hot, burning your fingertips. You break it open. Steam escapes from the dense, crumbly interior. It is not fluffy. It is a brick of sustenance. You tear a chunk off and dip it into a little olive oil if you have it, or just eat it dry. The crust is hard, giving your teeth work to do. The inside is chewy and rich. It tastes of smoke and earth. It sits heavy in the hand, a solid object of comfort in a chaotic world. But tonight, it is porridge. The pulse is thick now, almost solid. The ladle scrapes the bottom of the bronze pot. You hold out your wooden bowl. The serving is slapped in. It is heavy, grey-brown, glistening with the pork fat. There is no table. You sit on your folded cloak or on a log. You eat with a wooden spoon, shoveling the hot mixture into your mouth. It burns your tongue, but you don't care. The texture is rough, bits of bran, the chew of the pork, the softness of the boiled wheat. It fills you up instantly, expanding in your stomach like a warm stone. As you eat, the silence of hunger breaks. The men begin to talk. This is the sacred time, the contubernum. 8 men who march, sleep and fight together. You trade stories between mouthfuls. You complain about the centurion, about the weight of the pack, about the mud. Someone cracks a joke about a girl back in Capua. Laughter erupts, loud and coarse. This meal is more than nutrition. It is the glue that holds the unit together. You are breaking bread, literally. You are sharing the same pot. In this moment, you are not just soldiers, you are brothers. You finish the bowl. You scrape the sides to get every smear of fat, every grain of wheat. You are full. Not the bloated fullness of a modern feast, but a dense, satisfied heaviness. Your body stops screaming for resources. The warmth spreads from your belly out to your cold fingers and toes. You feel the strength returning. The exhaustion of the march fades into a dull, pleasant ache. You lean back against your saddle, watching the sparks fly up into the dark sky. You have survived another day. There is no dishwasher. You take sand from the ground and scrub your bowl and spoon. The grit removes the grease better than any soap. You rinse it with a splash of water. Everything is packed away. The discipline never ends. Even in rest, there is order. If the enemy attacks tonight, you cannot be fumbling with dirty pots. You are ready. You check your weapons, oiling the blade of your gladius by the dying light of the fire. The meal has done its work. The machine is refueled. The camp quiets down. The fires burn low, turning into glowing red eyes in the darkness. You can hear the sentries pacing on the ramparts. You crawl back into the tent. It is warm now, heated by the bodies of your messmates. You wrap yourself in your saga, your thick wool cloak. It smells of lanolin and smoke. You close your eyes. Your stomach is quiet. You drift off, knowing that tomorrow brings another 20 miles, another ditch, another wall. But you also know that the grain is there. The fire will be lit. You will eat. Consider the barbarian armies you face. They feast on roasted meat when they hunt, gorging themselves until they are sick, and then starve for days when the game is scarce. They are fierce, yes, but they are inconsistent. Their energy spikes and crashes. They are tethered to the luck of the hunt. You are tethered to the logistics of Rome. Your energy is flat, constant, unrelenting. You do not need luck. You have a sack of wheat and the discipline to grind it. That is why you win. Not because you are stronger, but because you are fueled by a system. It is a diet of monotony. Day after day, the same grain, the same bacon, the same sour wine. A modern mind would go mad with boredom. We crave new flavors, new textures, sweet, salty, spicy, crunchy. We are addicted to stimulation. But you, the Legionary, you have conquered your tongue. You do not eat for pleasure. You eat for function. This stoicism regarding food is a superpower. It frees you. You are not a slave to your cravings. You are the master of your hunger. Sometimes you forage. A handful of blackberries from a hedgerow. A wild apple, sour and hard. Then caught rabbit roasted on a stick. These are treats, rare and celebrated. Because your baseline is so simple, these small additions taste like the finest banquet in Rome. You appreciate the flavor of a single onion because you know the taste of plain gruel. We have lost this. We are flooded with flavor until we can taste nothing. You, in your deprivation, taste everything. The night deepens. The sounds of the camp fade to a low hum. You are just one man in a legion of 5,000. Every single one of them has eaten the same meal. Every single one has the same fire in their belly. This uniformity creates a hive mind. You are all running on the same fuel. You are cells in a single organism. The diet is the great equalizer. No officer eats better than you tonight. The general might have wine, but his bread is made of the same grain. You are united by the wheat. You think of the old stories, of the legions that marched before you. They ate this same food. Caesar's men in Gaul, Scipio's men in Africa. The ghosts of the past sit around the fire with you. The recipe has not changed in centuries. Why change what is perfect? Why change what builds empires? You are part of an unbroken chain of men, chewing on hard bread and conquering the world. The tradition is as nourishing as the meal itself. The fire dies. The last embers turn to grey ash. The cold creeps in. But you are warm from the inside. The slow-burning carbohydrates of the whole grain are releasing their energy, keeping your body temperature up through the long night. The fat is protecting your organs. The vinegar is keeping your blood flowing. You are a biological furnace, banking your coals for the morning. You sleep the deep, dreamless sleep of the physically exhausted. Tomorrow, the cycle repeats. The stone, the grain, the fire, the march. It seems like purgatory to the weak. But to you, it is a ritual of power. You rely on nothing but what you carry. You are free. You drift into darkness, the taste of smoke still on your lips, ready to rise and do it all again. The legion sleeps, but the digestion of the empire never stops. Now step back from the fire. Look at this scene with fresh eyes. Why did this diet work so effectively? Why, for nearly 1,000 years, did the Roman military machine run on wheat and vinegar? It wasn't an accident. It wasn't because they were poor. It was a calculated masterpiece of biological engineering and logistical genius. Let's dismantle the logic of the legionary diet. Consider the grain itself. Wheat, frumentum. It is the most calorie-dense food you can carry that doesn't spoil. A pound of beef gives you energy for a few hours, but it rots in the sun in half a day. A pound of dry wheat lasts for years. It is stable. This meant the Roman army could march far beyond where a meat-eating army would starve. They conquered the world because their food didn't die before they did. Then there is the hand mill. This is the detail most historians miss. By forcing every small group of men to carry their own mill and grind their own flour, the Roman generals removed the single greatest weakness of an army, the bakery. If you have one central bakery, the enemy can burn it. If the bakery wagon wheel breaks, the whole army starves. But in the legion, every unit was its own factory. You cannot starve an army that carries its production method on its back. Now the posca, the sour wine. Modern people think vinegar is just a condiment. To the ancients, it was survival. Vinegar is acidic. When you mix it with flat, suspicious water, the acidity creates a hostile environment for the things that make you sick. They didn't know about the microscopic world, but they knew that men who drank water died, and men who drank posca lived. It was a battlefield disinfectant that you drank. This drink also acted as an electrolyte solution. When you sweat, you lose salt and minerals. Vinegar is full of potassium and minerals from the grape. It replenished what the march took away. It was the ancient Gatorade, but without the blue dye and the sugar crash. It kept the muscles firing and the cramps away, a simple mixture of wine gone bad, saving thousands of lives, and the bacon, the lard. This wasn't about protein, it was about density. Fat has more than double the energy of carbohydrates by weight. A small cube of pork fat provides the fuel to march for hours. By salting it, they made it immortal. It could sit in a hot leather sack for weeks and still be edible. It was a concentrated energy bomb, deployed when the work was hardest. There is a myth that you need massive amounts of meat to build muscle. The Roman soldier proves this wrong. They were thick, muscular, and incredibly strong, yet their diet was 70% carbohydrate. How? Because hard work demands fuel. The grain spared the protein. They used the grain to burn for energy, and the small amount of meat and cheese they ate went directly to muscle repair. They didn't overeat protein, they utilized it perfectly. This diet created metabolic flexibility. A modern person gets hangry if they miss lunch by an hour. Their blood sugar crashes. The Legionary was adapted to burn slow, steady fuel. The complex carbohydrates in the whole wheat broke down slowly, releasing energy over 6, 7, 8 hours. They didn't have sugar spikes and crashes. They had a flat, steady line of power. They were diesel engines, not Ferraris. But the greatest lesson here is not nutritional, it is psychological. The simplicity of the diet forged the mind. When you accept that every meal will be porridge, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop wasting mental energy on, what do I want to eat? You just eat. You view food as a tool. This discipline bleeds into everything else. If you can master your appetite, you can master your fear. We live in an age of infinite choice. We stand in supermarket aisles paralyzed by options. We worry about macros, superfoods, and timing. We are soft because we are spoiled. We have forgotten that the human body is designed to work hard on simple fuel. We try to hack our health with pills, when what we really need is the discipline to eat real food and do hard work. The Roman soldier didn't need a pre-workout shake. He had a cause. He didn't need a post-workout recovery smoothie. He had sleep. He trusted the wisdom of the grain and the fire. He built a civilization on the back of discipline while his enemies feasted and fell. There is a terrible power in simplicity that we have lost. You don't need to eat hardtack and drink vinegar to learn from this, but you can look at your own life. Where are you soft? Where are you demanding variety where you should be demanding results? Could you survive if the supermarket's closed? Could you carry your own fuel? The Legionary asks you these questions from across the millennium. Think about the fragility of your own supply chain. If the power goes out, if the trucks stop, what do you eat? The Legionary was anti-fragile. He was ready for the worst. We have built a world that assumes the best. Perhaps it is time to bring a little of that Roman grit back into our lives, to simplify, to endure, to conquer. The fire of the Legion is out, but the ashes remain. The wisdom is there for those willing to pick it up. Strength does not come from luxury, it comes from the ability to do without it. It comes from the grind. It comes from the sour cup and the hard road. So the next time you sit down to a meal, ask yourself, is this feeding my weakness or fueling my mission? Are you eating to be entertained, or are you eating to be capable? The empire was built by men who answered that question correctly every single day. If you are tired of the modern softness, if you want to rediscover the discipline of the ancients, you are in the right place. We are building a new legion here. One of mindset, not armor. Join the tribe, subscribe, stand with us and let the others have their comfort. We will have the strength